Hey everyone, Scott here, and Amazon recently made some massive waves by kicking some companies off their platform and making some changes to the wording of their terms of service. These are the type of updates that every Amazon seller needs to know, so I wanted to dive into the details. Can rebates and two-step URLs still be used? We'll get into that and my thoughts on what this means for these popular ranking strategies. Be sure to watch the whole video because I'm going to be covering a lot of important info you don't want to miss, and let's get right into it. First off, what happened? Well, Amazon sent emails to anyone that had their Amazon account connected to the RebateKey and Elite Seller apps. RebateKey is a website you can do rebates for your product through, and Elite Seller is a software with a lot of different tools like keyword ranking, keyword research, funnel software, profit dashboard, things like that. Kind of a multi-tool software for Amazon sellers. And Amazon said they're going to removing the company's access to Amazon's API. The API is how these apps get the data from Amazon into their own apps in order to use Amazon's numbers and things like that. And also reminding the sellers on the Amazon guidelines on review and ranking manipulation. So why did they get removed? At this point in time, no one knows for sure other than perhaps the companies themselves. So this is all speculative, but some guesses were that is because they're encouraging some activity that Amazon didn't like search, find, buy to influence ranking. It'll be interesting to see if this is just the start and this will be happening to other similar apps or services, because there are other rebate services and similar software, or if these are going to be the only two that are going to be singled out. It's totally possible that Elite Seller and RebateKey will be able to work with Amazon and fix any issues and come back completely fine. So I'll have to wait and see until there are some solid updates. But until then, I wouldn't use any public rebate service. Now let's get into the terms of service updates. Amazon recently changed some wording to the seller code of conduct to include the line manipulating sales rank as by accepting fake orders or orders that you have paid for. The or orders you have paid for is the new part. When this happened, people were speculating whether they were talking about rebates with this, because technically with rebates, you're not actually paying for the order, you're giving some money back after the order. And Amazon could just add the word rebates to their terms of service if they wanted to be really clear, but they didn't, at least not at the time of this video. Huge name brand companies do rebates. You can get rebates in big box store, retail stores. You might have even gotten a rebate yourself on an appliance like a refrigerator or something like that. So it's not something weird that Amazon sellers invented. It's a normal marketing tactic, I think personally. But when you start combining other things with rebates to directly influence ranking, like two-step URLs or search, find, buy, is when I think Amazon really starts having an issue. But wait, there's more. An Amazon seller representative recently made a post in the Amazon seller forum that directly says they don't approve of things like search, find, buy, and two-step URLs or rebates. And they say they want you to use Amazon provided tools like listing coupons and promotional discounts instead. Now think about this. What do we really expect Amazon to say? Of course they're going to say that they don't approve of any method that could influence product ranking. That's always been the case and is nothing new in my opinion. But what is new is this is the first time I've seen them say so clearly words like search, find, buy, rebate, treasure hunt, which is like search, find, buy, two-step URLs. Normally, Amazon seems to keep these things vague on purpose because then they can, wield the ban hammer however they want to. When it's really vague, they can just basically ban or suspend anyone they want to. So what does this all mean? Is this the end of ranking tactics? Let's try to unwind this. Now, this is all just my opinion and not advice, okay? Always keep up to date on Amazon selling policies because they do change, as we've just seen, and always make your own decisions on what to do in your Amazon business. I always say, your business, your choice. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and start with the rebates. At this time, I'd not be using any public rebate site or group unless RebateKey themselves comes out with an update, says they worked out any issues with Amazon and that they're now accepted by Amazon. I also wouldn't use any rebate software, whether it's funnels or chatbots or anything like that connects to the Amazon API, because Amazon will be able to see that you are using these types of software. I do think that a lot of sellers will probably still use rebates. They'll just be more private about it, less out in the open about it. For ranking URLs, I definitely wouldn't use a URL that fakes or simulates a part of a URL like the QID. That's what super URLs do. They insert a simulated QID to try to trick Amazon that it's a new click or new search. And if you don't know what a QID is, I recommend checking out my other video that explains two-step URLs in details. And I also wouldn't use URLs that fake where the traffic is coming from, like making it seem like the click is coming from Google when it's really not. I've always stayed away from using these type of things anyways. Two-step URLs are a little trickier in my opinion. The problem with them is that Amazon can change the URL structure at any time. So if you're still using an old one and then switch it to a new one, that's easily detectable by them if they notice a lot of clicks coming to your listing from this old URL. I do think Amazon would have a hard time enforcing this against sellers using it unless it's obvious it's coming from the seller. Because if you think about it, all a competitor would have to do is send a bunch of traffic to your listing using a two-step URL and try to get you banned. So again, I think it'll come down to each seller and whether they continue to use it or not, depending on their risk tolerance. As for search find buy, it's harder for Amazon to detect than URLs because it's just a search on Amazon. I mean, it's hard to detect just a regular normal search on Amazon. I feel like that there are sellers that are going to still use this. They just won't do it by using a service or app that promotes or uses this feature. They'll be less out in the open about it. Overall, I do think it's going to be one of those situations where some sellers will stop using these, stop using them completely, and other sellers will continue to use them. I'm interested to see if Amazon updates their actual seller code of conduct to include the exact wording of these ranking tactics. Until that happens, I'm not sure how much they're actually going to do to enforce this, but we'll see what happens and how things develop. The question you always need to ask yourself is, does this harm Amazon's brand or their customers? When it comes to fake or incentivized reviews, for example, that clearly harms Amazon's reputation, and that's why they take it seriously and try to enforce that on their platform. Actually, Amazon recently sent some sellers that their product would be receiving less views on Amazon because Amazon detected some review manipulation for that product. This is something that tells me that Amazon is stepping up their efforts to combat review manipulation, which is a good thing in my opinion. I wish they'd be doing more of that because if you've been selling on Amazon for any length of time, you know that it's still a big issue. But in my opinion, there's a huge difference between a seller just sending some sales through a two-step URL. I don't think there's a lot of harm in that, and a seller getting thousands of fake reviews. Now, if you send thousands or hundreds of orders through a two-step URL, then that's a different story and something that I think Amazon would care about because you're taking things to an extreme. Overall, I'm always thinking long-term with my Amazon business, so I tend to play it on the safer side. I'm always extra cautious with what I do, and I make sure I stay on Amazon's good side. So here's what I recommend should be focused on instead. First, a good quality product. Now, that should seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how many sellers I talk to that never even got a sample or got the product in hand to test it out and see if it's a quality product before launching it. An optimized listing that's well written with the right keywords and has good images and good branding. And good branding doesn't necessarily mean the product itself has to have amazing branding or the packaging has to have amazing branding, but you can work branding into the overall listing itself, depending on how you set up your images, how you set up your A+ content, and the type of copy and wording you use. Building an audience and a list around your product or brand, having a really good launch plan so you can rank for a lot of keywords as soon as possible, and using traffic from good sources like Amazon PPC and other authoritative outside traffic sources like Google Ads, Pinterest, and so on. I said this before, but it's worth repeating, and that is the quality of your traffic matters for ranking. If you're sending poor quality traffic, then it's gonna harm your ranking activities. And of course, taking advantage of the promotional and marketing tools that Amazon makes available to sellers. If you do these things, you won't have to rely on special ranking tactics or gimmicky tactics to succeed on Amazon. I hope you found this helpful. Overall, we'll see how this develops, but personally, I think until Amazon officially updates their seller code of conduct or gets aggressive with their enforcement of this, many sellers are going to continue to use these ranking tactics, even knowing it will be risky and knowing that Amazon is directly saying now that they don't want it and that it is a violation. Trying to sell well on Amazon is really a skill between completely white hat doing exactly what Amazon says to the letter, and I guarantee you that probably about 99% of Amazon sellers aren't doing 100% exactly by the letter, what Amazon says, this is how many characters you're supposed to have in your title, and this is how you're supposed to arrange your title, and these are the images you're supposed to be using, and things like that. And then there's the opposite side, which is harmful black hat techniques like review manipulation, fake orders, and the gray area in between. I don't think anyone should be using black hat tactics, and those sellers should be banned. And again, this is all just my opinion. I'd personally play it safe right now, but ultimately it's up to every seller to decide for themselves what they're comfortable with within the white and gray area. Thanks for watching, and subscribe and turn on notifications if you enjoy this content. If you want to see more, check out some of my older videos, and I'll see you in the next one.